Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Swordland in Suzerain. Where last we left off, we were about to begin discussion of the lawsuit about the discrimination of Bloodish citizens. Okay, we've read this already, but let's let's do a quick recap. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and Miss Minister, as you already know, there is a major Supreme Court case at the moment. Ishval Ersen is suing the governor of Bergia, Felix Braun, for infringing upon the liberties of Bloodish people and demand that the constitution be revised. Because of the argument and the implications, Felix Braun and consequently the very constitution of Sordland is under trial. The fact is, he needs to be punished and the constitution must be reviewed. I am aware of this case. In fact, we are already working on revoking the current special zone status of Bergia. That's great to hear. We would be very happy if you can share the details once they're more concrete. We will definitely give support to that when the time comes, Mr. President. However, the case of Ishval Ersin has a bigger reach than Bergia. Nia raised her hand and spoke. I was actively involved in this case because of the implications with the Constitution. There is no way the Supreme Court will agree with Ishval Ersin on all of the points. Not if all three parties of the Assembly support Ersin together. We can put pressure on them and we only need them to agree on a few of those points. Yeah, is the NFP really willing to support Ersin, Mr. Kiener? For peace and harmony in Swordland, yes, but perhaps we must clarify the details first. What are your plans and suggestions? In short, the plan is to release a unified statement to the justices declaring our support for Ersin and explaining why this is so important. The only good result would be if the Supreme Court reiterates its commitment to the pillar of unity and solism. Mr. President, despite previously being against it, I now completely understand why Swordland still needs solism. Huh. Interesting. Fascists don't have changes of heart without a reason, so I'm curious what yours was. We need unity more than ever, and Article 6 is that unity. We do not need solist unity. Kasarin stared Remus down and continued. If the court reiterates the definitions of sword in Article 6 as an all-encompassing term, they would be acknowledging that Ersin and others like him are indeed protected by the right of the sword peoples, which they are. As a result, the resettlement policy in there would be reversed, opening the way for Governor Braun's removal and the de-escalation of tensions in Bergia. Nia, the fascist is making sense. Is there something I'm missing? That is correct, Mr. President. Yeah, it's the problem. Does that mean the existence of the Bloodish people is literally not being acknowledged? Exactly. Our current constitution fails to recognize the Bloodish people. It is time we abolish the inherent racism in it. Citizens of Swordland are swords. The constitution clearly defines that in Article 6. It encompasses everybody. This shouldn't be up for debate. What racism are you talking about? Solism is based on civical nationalism, not ethnic. We do not understand why someone would go against such broad and inclusive law. I don't see the commies criticizing their identity, Kontanen, when in fact that country is filled with different ethnicities. Why are you even comparing Swordland with United Kontane? Are you alright, Mr. Kivner? Very funny, Mr. President. My point is people like the Melniev do not call themselves Kiovian over Kontanen. Why is it that Bloods cannot do the same? Why does Swordland have to be divided? You have a point, but I must point out that Kontana is the word for a geographic entity, unlike sword. This is Swordland. You can subscribe to whatever idea you want, but if you are a citizen, you are a sword. This is how nations work. The reality is the Bloods do not respect nor recognize the laws nor authority of Swordland. They'd rather separate themselves from swords and protest the very laws that protect them, so that they can cry about injustice and ask Swordland's enemies to come and save them. I personally do not agree with the Bloods are swords solist crap. Of course you don't. I can't believe the words being thrown around in this meeting. And what is the position of the PFJP? I personally somewhat agree with Mr. Kiebner on this. However, our position as the PFJP is that Article 6 does indeed discriminate against Norn swords, and having a positive outcome for this case alone doesn't suffice. We agree to come together in support of Ishval Ersen, but we believe our statement should include the acknowledgement of the inherent racism in the Constitution. We must use this opportunity to show the flaws of the Constitution if the court agrees that there is in fact conflict between the articles or recognizes the discrimination, and the Hawker Court is going to listen to that. Besides, we do not agree with your inherent racism, Hogwash. You're a non. Your party is insignificant, mate. You have to state that it is your party's opinion and does not reflect the NFP. We won't take part in that. That would make the statement look weak and disorganized. If there's no consistent strategy, I don't think it would work. What's the most likely outcome of this case? I mean, we've already had this conversation. Why do I need to ask that question again? The first and most likely option is that the Supreme Court completely ignores the arguments and rejects it in its entirety. If they ignore all of the points and strike against Urson, Governor Bourne will be free to follow his discriminatory policies without any obstacles. And in a possible future case, the court's interpretation of the Urson case will be the basis of all future rulings, which opens the way for suspending the rights of non-swords. It would effectively erase any progress that has been made regarding Bloodish rights, and will embolden anti-Bloodish proponents to follow their actions freely. Yeah, that would be disastrous for our Bloodish citizens. Exactly. That is precisely why our expectation is to say a different result this time. The stakes couldn't be higher. What's the significance? Again, we've already been through this. I'll be straight with you, Mr. President. If the court rules against Urson, this will most likely turn into a BFF campaign for a bullish revolution. We ask everybody to recognize this. And the NFP are ready to push for a de-escalation and aid the nation during this dangerous time. I'll be completely honest, I would never have expected that from you. Remus was visibly annoyed but kept himself silent. Because the case is now in the hands of the Supreme Court, this ruling will influence all future implementations of the law and the decision-making of the lower courts. We have the Minister of Justice here with us too. I'm sure she would not disagree with what I just said. Nia did not comment, but nodded. I'm afraid Mr. Kiebner is right about this. If the court ignores this case now, this may turn into something massive. Therefore, we have to pressure the court not to escalate the already high tensions. What do you really think will happen if the court ignores this? Another all-out BFF rebellion, Mr. President. In my opinion, that would be the preferred outcome. If enemies do truly live within our borders, I'd rather have them show their true faces earlier than later. Shut the fuck up, you fucking asshole. This is exactly what those damn Rums want. They want readying for war. They are readying for war and are waiting for to use the tensions inside Sorland against us. I'll be honest with you, I'm not very comfortable talking about Bloodish rights with the NFP. I understand where this comes from, Mr. President, but please do not act like we are anti-Blood Party. No, of course not. Don't forget, we are members and supporters with blood. Yes, I have blood. I have many blood friends. Blood people for Trump. Yeah, bloods for Kiebner. Oh wow, good for you guys. I think I have enough information to be able to say we are deep in the mud here. Peter laughed at his own joke attempt, but nobody else reacted. Well, I think the NFP's stance could do some good for the Bloodish without provoking the establishment, but even that might be risky before the vote. The BFJP's stance is too radical. I think it will only antagonize the Supreme Court even further and make them give a worse ruling. I think it might be better to keep our administration out of this. I hate to agree with, but it's probably best to just rely on Article 6, get the NFP on board, and deal with the racism in Article 6 later. I'm not sure if it's worth the risk right before the vote for our reforms. We might lose all our progress, but the decision is yours. I think I've heard enough. Uh... Fuck it. Uh, I've already fucked this run, so we'll agree that Article 6 and 7 are inherently discriminatory and conflict with the rights of people, as Mr. Richter suggested. That's great to hear. We will get to work immediately after the celebrations. I'll be honest, I didn't expect a USP president to agree to this. You've proven me wrong, Mr. Rain. Does that mean you're gonna vote for the reforms? That's a shame, really. Sadly, the NFP cannot take part in this. I don't fucking care. With all due respect, Mr. Keevan, the NFP cannot merely stay out of it. We must condemn this decision and actively protest it. Yes, we'll talk about that later, Remus. We appreciate all your comments, ladies and gentlemen, but now that the USP stance is clear, we should probably end the meeting here. I mean, my stance is clear. Is the party's stance clear? I don't know. After bidding our farewells, Casaro took us outside the building to join the Victory Day event on the plaza. Sure, it was lovely. Shit. Foreign investors withdraw. That is not good. Hey, we've gained money. From where? Huh. Okay. Let's move on. See where this leads us. Chapter 3. Okay. Nothing on the airport. PFF recruitment. Be expected. Marcel Caranti. What the fuck does he want? I was in my office looking through the agenda of the upcoming meetings at the Ministry of Economy. The meeting was going to be about the ownership of the Big Four, the four largest companies in Sordland, Heart of Sordland, Bergia Steel, the Sordis State Corporation, and Nedam Mining Group. Some of these companies were controlled in part or entirely by the state, the others were mostly or completely privatized. I had the power to change that. The phone rang and I put the agenda down. Let's pick up the phone. Greetings, Mr. President. It's been a while, hasn't it? Let me try to remember. When was the last time we had a chat? Oh, I remember. It was in Conriat, when you refused my gracious offer. And I am sure you came to... You're here to extend another gracious offer that I'm inclined to refuse again. Why did you call me? Sorry. You probably know why I'm calling. It's because of the upcoming ownership meeting. But before we move on to that, I can't help but mention your tax hike, Mr. President. The increased taxes have made a substantial dent in HOS net profits. This has hurt the backbone of the Swedish economy. I'm sure you'll survive. Of course, I assure you it's nothing we can't endure. Of course not. Unfortunately, we had to tighten our belts wherever we could. That way of thinking is correct, but you acted wrongly. This will only serve to damage our economy in the long run. He paused for a few seconds. Out of goodwill, I will share a key piece of information. The Lothburg Group has contingency plans if you decide to do anything rash that would disrupt their empires. You can't blame them, can you? Imagine someone trying to take your authority and personal wealth away without your consent. We will only ask for a reasonable share, nothing out of the ordinary. That is good to hear. If everyone pairs their cards right, it will all be fine. Now, let's talk about those cards. Since the start of your campaign, you've adamantly promoted a planned economy. Going by that, I am worried that you will attempt to nationalize Sordland's largest private corporations. Nationalization as a concept goes against everything my father built and stood for. Too bad. If you do want to go down this road, I must insist you excluding HOS from any such plan. That is my most important request. Think of your corporate allies as a sea of ravenous sharks surrounding you. We could coexist peacefully. Let's see. Let's not even imagine that scenario. I don't give. I don't give in to threats. Your time is over, Grundy. What an unfortunate turn of events. What a tragedy. He laughed mockingly. Listen to me. Do you think you have the power because you're sitting in a fancy chair? Do you think you are Sol? You are nothing. If you want war, you will have war. But know this: I will destroy you and everything you hold dear. Slowly. Very slowly. You think I don't know? Don't know what? He laughed again. Be careful around the people you trust. When I'm done with you, getting re-elected will be the least of your worries, Mr. President. This should be great. Getting assassinated! Getting assassinated speedrun. Massive rally carrying for reforms. Illegal crossings rise at Welland border. Increased support for Bloodish rights, good. Petty Agile calls for change to Article 6 and 7. Supreme Court delays arson case until further notice. Of course. Fucking cunts. General Staff releases positive statement. Okay, Lucian wants a meeting. What's up? Lucian will schedule some time with me to discuss the potential political repercussions of the upcoming economy meeting. He arrived on time as usual and took his seat right across from me. Good morning, Mr. President. Lucian had dark circles below his eyes. The plethora of political developments must have been weighing even on a workaholic like him. You look tired. Are you getting enough sleep? Obviously not. I'm trying to, sir. Don't push yourself too much. I will try not to. I must say, you don't look much better. I looked at myself in the small hand mirrors. Similar circles were beneath my eyes as well. I booked some of your time to pre-plan for today's meeting at the Ministry of Economy. But before going into the economic direction, I want to give you a short status update. After your supportive statements of Ishval Ersen together with Mr. Richter and the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court decided not to act at all and delayed the case until further notice. I'm afraid Chief Justice Hawker seems to be protecting Governor Braun from persecution. This only increases tensions. Antagonizing him before the vote for the Constitution was perhaps not the best idea. That vote is already not going our way, so it's fine. Moreover, the Bloodish community in Bergia is getting increasingly restless over this topic. Nobody knows how long they'll keep delaying the case. This, of course, allows Governor Braun to keep his seat and continue his restless policies in Bergia, among others. It's very troubling. Do you have any idea how we can proceed? I don't think there is anything we can do about this at this point. Our strategy should be to get the public opinion behind us. Luckily, Miss Morna is already working on the semi-autonomous zone in Bergia. We may still be able to get rid of the government that way. However, there might be a problem with its timing. It would likely only be ready after the vote of the amendments. If the vote succeeds as we've been working for, your limited decree powers won't be enough to enact a change this grand. I'm afraid you'll need the approval of the Assembly in that scenario. And I doubt they'll support any change to Mr. Braun's special authority. He's been a very important member of the party as well as an important fundraiser. Fuck. I hate this, but yeah, tell her to work faster. It needs to be finished before the vote. I'll tell her immediately after our meeting, sir, but I won't think it'll make any difference. There is one more thing. The representatives of the Bloodish community, namely Marsoon Leke and Fatih Ejal, have just informed me that they wish to meet with you. They also wanted me to relay their surprise and support of your statement in the face of Ishval Ersen. After all, not every USP president calls the Constitution racist. This might have made them soften up to you. If you accept the meeting, it would be the first ever meeting between the WPB and a standing president, a major event for their community. I am not sure exactly which topics they want to bring up, but we can talk about that later. I'm sure this is a positive development. I'd be happy to meet them. I'll let them know, sir. They haven't officially reached out yet. When they do, it will be up to you whether you want to listen to them or not. You can always reject our meeting altogether, of course, so we don't lose support among Swedish nationalists. He took a look at his watch. For now, let's return back to the real reason we are here, our economic direction. We need to be cautious. Any grand plans about the economy also heavily influence our political standing. We could be changing our relationship with the old guard and the oligarchs and the opposition. As you know, this meeting will give you the opportunity to alter the ownership of the Big Four, the largest corporations in all of Swordland. We can start a process of nationalization or privatization, or we can just keep the status quo. Again, I remind you that any change will tip an already fragile balance. I personally think we should stay out of this and keep things as they are. There is no need to make new political enemies at this stage in our term, but ultimately the decision is yours. What are you leaning towards? How should we move forward? Hmm. We will nationalize these companies. I have to ask, why? What is your intention? I cannot allow a major part of the country to run without my input as president. The oligarch... I hate both of these options. Truth be told, I don't care what anyone thinks or says. I will do what I believe in. I understand, however, we need to think carefully about the effects of your actions, especially since the next election is getting closer every day. One thing to remember is that since you've been transparent about promoting a planned economy, nationalization will not cost us much support. Lucian took a note in his notebook. I received a report from the Ministry of Economy that may impact your decision. Unfortunately, we have missed our government budget targets for the current quarter. The plan to change the ownership of important assets could help us generate much needed resources for further improvement to further improve our economic development before the next election. It's just something to consider as our relationship with the oligarchs. We might be aiming for nationalization, but we need to remember that they only care about their own profits. Unfortunately, we aren't on good terms with them. This situation has been obstructing some of our efforts in the economic recovery. If our nationalization plans hurt their assets too much, we may end up at war with them, with the men who control most of the economy. If we nationalize only part of their companies, we can avoid confrontation. Yes, that's the only kind of nationalization they'd accept. I am sure that Tusk will have further requests afterwards, though. Some of my connections indicate that there seems to be a contest for leadership in the Lothberg group. Looks like Marcel Caronti is making moves to become the key figure. Caronti probably wants his father's seat at the head of the group, and Tusk doesn't want to let go of it. A significant power struggle, considering these are heads of Sorland's two largest private corporations. Because we are going down the path of nationalization, we will have the power to tip the balance towards either side. Since you have already made the decision to nationalize, we need to be decisive in your follow-up actions. Did Marcel or Tusk contact you? I received a call from Marcel. What did he ask for? He wanted me to leave HOS untouched. And then? He threatened me, so I told him I'm taking him down. You did what? Never mind. Whatever I said before. This changes everything. Marcel Caronti is too dangerous and too powerful to have as an enemy. We need to take him down now or we might not get another chance. Mr. President, we need to nationalize HOS. And we need to do it quickly. Otherwise, we might not stand a chance for re-election. Lucian looked at his watch. Very well then, it's almost time. I will inform Mr. Holt of your decision, and he will make the necessary preparations to formulate a plan. I must get back to work now. See you at the next meeting. Thank you for your time, sir. Lucian got up from his chair and left the office. I just gave Lucian a heart attack. Okay, CSP launches first 3 spy satellites. Valksland Navy active in Markin Sea. Fantastic. Should have modernized the Navy. Massive protest against court decision. We expected. VFF threatens the Supreme Court. I mean, there's worse things that could happen. Be mutually beneficial. We condemn the Supreme Court. Okay. Accept the meeting with the Polish leaders. Lucian and I were waiting in my office ahead of our talk with the representatives of the Bloodish movement. After I accepted the meeting, NIA informed us of their intention to convince us to add further changes to our constitutional amendment proposal. Lucian didn't seem too happy about my decision to put pressure on the court by highlighting the discrimination in Article 6 and 7 of the Swedish Constitution. Since our statement with the PFJP, there were rumors that we would also include these changes in our proposal. You don't seem too happy about this meeting. Forgive me, sir, I just think we are in a precarious situation at the moment. I know. I'm just gonna ride this train until it catches fire. They already publicly criticized those articles for being discriminatory against Polish people. They'll expect you to act on your words now. But I advised against altering your proposal at the last minute, especially with changes that would never be accepted by our party. With that said, if you then act on this, you risk losing all the Polish support you've gained so far. We have the opportunity to change those articles, we have to seize it. If you say so, sir. Lucian's no longer on my side. We're dead. Livia stepped in and informed us that the representatives have arrived. With my assent, she opened the door to let Monsoon Leke and Fatih Jal inside. Monsoon was the spokesperson of the Independent and the former leader of the WPB, where Fatih Jal was the WPB's current leader. Good morning, Mr. Ajal, Mr. Leke. Good morning. Brimbar Sinjar, healthy mornings to you. It's great to finally meet you, Mr. President. Thank you for having us. Okay, maybe that's too much. It's good to see you, gentlemen. Please have a seat. We shook hands and took our seats on the two sofas facing each other. You must know why we're here, Mr. President. First of all, we thank you for standing with Ishvalarsen and the rights of the Polish people of Bergia. This is a very dark time for the Polish people in Bergia, and we need all the help we can get. Governor Braun's racist policies are being illegally protected by the Supreme Court under the guise of a large-scale threat by the so-called terrorists. Mr. Hawker is using Governor Braun to increase tensions in the country. If there really are terrorists out there, these two are where it starts. It's great that we think alike on the matter. We never would have expected such statements of support coming from a USP president. You have our appreciation. But know this, if you're really willing to fight for the rights of the Polish people, we will champion you to the end. I promise you, I'm willing to fight for your rights until we achieve true equality between swords and bloods. That's how, of course. With the support of Mr. Richter and the PFJP, we have worked on a proposal to change the articles you signed out as discriminatory. It was a bold move, openly attacking the soulless structure of this country, so I'd like to believe that we share the same sentiment about reforming our constitution. If you're willing to listen, we can explain the details to you. I'm listening. Mr. Leke, could you read the proposed changes for us? Masum took out a stack of papers and started reading. The ethnic term Sol will be removed from the Constitution. Sword will be removed from the Constitution. We will remove the lines that define the citizens of Swordland by nationality. Firstly, the line everyone who is bound to the Sword state by citizenship is a sword will be removed entirely from Article 6. As for the following lines in the rest of the article, the term sword will be replaced with citizen of Swordland. And the line in Article 7, every sword is equal before the law, will be modified to everyone regardless of language, race, color, gender, political thought, philosophical belief, religion, or disability is equal before the law. Sure. Let's go. The reforms are already not passing, so I'm all with you in this. Good to know, Mr. President. I must point out that, given our current political reality, adding these to our proposal may eliminate the possibility of any reform being made. I'm sure you understand we need a realistic proposal. This is the opposite. If we can't reform the judiciary and the amendment procedures, what good does it do? If even the leadership of the government party doesn't believe in the possibility of change, of course nobody else will. But this is a fallacy. If you don't support us because of the existence of people who are against us, how do we even start fixing the problem? It's time this country stops pushing the Bloodish people to the corners of society. ETA. And that deadlock is what created the liberation movement. Uh, the liberation movement? Exactly, as long as the government creates a deadlock and doesn't offer solutions, the Polish people will have to do what it takes to defend themselves. And as long as you label those people who fight for their rights as the villains, you are deepening the problem and turning it into a cycle of violence. You are right, many mistakes were made, the detriment of the Polish people, we cannot continue like this. I'm glad you agree. Since we're already in the same page, we should talk about how realistic it is to pass these changes instead. Alright, I know you are rightfully wondering how we can gather a majority in both the Assembly and the Supreme Court. In the past, Mr. Richter and Mrs. Hale supported us greatly in this endeavor, and I believe the PFJP would get behind our proposal reforms. If you can gather the support of the USP, the Assembly won't be a problem. I hope you read that Mr. Richter has already announced that the PFJP will not vote for our reforms. You've already made a statement together denouncing Articles 6 and 7. This would put them under a lot of pressure. They've been campaigning for these changes themselves, and they are aware of the support they'd lose from the Polish people if they vote no. It's true. If we include our changes in our reforms, the tide can still be turned. Well, but that doesn't help me convince the USP. Gathering the support of the USP is the real problem here. Do you think the Conservative MPs will have a sudden change of heart? There is only one thing that can change them to work with us. If Mr. Hawker and his puppets are looking to put an end to the liberation movement, I'm willing to cooperate with them and give them what they want. Lucian's eyes widened for a second. What are you saying, Mr. Rejal? If you include these changes in your proposal, I will give you the best bargaining chip you can get. Intelligence about the BFF and the locations of its leaders. Now we're talking. This might have just saved our run. How do we know the old guard will be convinced by that? You can't know everything, Mr. President. But this is what we offer because we believe in it, an end to the VFF. This will give a significant edge, of course, but I still don't think it would be enough on its own. Besides, can you really deliver on your claims? I thought the administration was behind this reform. We came here with a real offer and you keep questioning us. What is this sudden change of attitude? If you can promise us the BFF, we can make this work. That I promise. He straightened his posture. Then we can talk about the details. See? If you address people's root issues, they will stop giving support to violent radical groups. It works. And we can talk about details. As I said, I'm offering the Solists an end to the BFF. I will give you everything I know and can gather, even the connections in my own party. I am prepared to do this for the greater good. But to you, I am offering the possibility to become the president who finished off the secessionists, the president who started a new age in Soireland. Think of the popularity you'll enjoy. This will be a huge boost for the administration, and it will also help your standing with traditional Solists. And if we change the constitution in the process, the Bloodish community will be applauding you with all their might. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If this becomes public, how do you expect to keep your leadership of the Workers' Party? I don't. I intend to give the leadership back to Monsoon. The party still respects him immensely, and his name hasn't been stained like most of ours. The government did not label him a former terrorist, and neither was he declared a target by far-right nationalists, yet. As much as I feel like I'm not ready for that responsibility, I am ready to do whatever it takes to grow the Bloodish Democratic movement. I'm ready to be the new target. This way we can start anew. Well, I'm clear on your offer. Let's talk about how we deal with the votes. I believe that according to the plan, that part is all on us, sir. We'll give you the BFF, and you'll get us the votes from the USP, Mr. President. I may convince the leaders of the party, but we may want to reach out directly to all 130 of our members. Focus on the leadership and get your vice president to convince the MPs. He has a way with words. I think he can sell the idea even to the staunchest conservatives. What about the Supreme Court? What about it? You're already going directly against the old guard. Don't you already have a plan to get to current reforms through the court? What does this really change for you? With all due respect, Mr. Leckey, we are not children here. You know how risky this is. If we lose this, our entire reform package goes down the drain, not just Article 6 and 7. The addition of these reforms would flip our plan upside down. The implications are not the same at all. Then do your absolute best and make sure it doesn't fail. We are not going to negotiate our rights here. Either you will fight for us and we will give you what I said in return, or you abandon the Polish democratic movement. I'm not saying I want to abandon you, I'm saying help me out here. I'm willing to fight for you. I will include these new amendments in our proposal. That's great to hear. Thank you, Mr. President. You will find an ally in me, and I will deliver my promises. You can count on that and what I said. Thank you. Together we will achieve. Thank you. Together we will achieve a better democracy in Switzerland for everyone, regardless of the culture, language, or ethnicity. Thank you, Mr. President. They both stood up and shook my hand. This drastic addition to the proposal at the last minute would surely be a cause of contention. I had no idea whether Fatty Agile's plan would work. But that is a question for next episode. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, I have been Pope. Please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all next time.